Good afternoon. The committee will come back to order. I'd like to welcome everyone to this afternoon's Asia-Pacific Subcommittee hearing on the shocking truth about North Korean tyranny. I want to thank my colleague from California, Mr. Ami Bera, for serving as today's ranking member, and also thank our distinguished witnesses for being here as well. We're especially extremely grateful, Ms. Grace Jo, as the chairman mentioned before, that you could join us here this afternoon. Your perspective will be invaluable for everyone to hear today. I'll make my formal introductions of all the witnesses after I've concluded and the ranking member's concluded his opening statements here this afternoon. We've already heard from the full committee chairman, Mr. Royce, previously, but then we had to go into recess because of votes. And we won't have any votes for another hour and a half or so, I don't think, so hopefully we can get through the rest of the hearing before we have votes again. For 60 years, North Korea has been ruled by one of the most repressive totalitarian regimes on earth. Millions of North Koreans have been starved to death and sent to concentration camps to die in inhumane ways not seen since the days of Hitler or Stalin. The extent of human rights abuses, a list too long to go into great detail, are deliberate and calculated actions utilized by the Kim regime to quell dissent and maintain ultimate control, just as his father and grandfather did before him. In February, the United Nations Commission of Inquiry released its report on human rights in North Korea, yielding a compendium of crimes against humanity committed by the North Korean regime. While the totality of this report is certainly shocking, a wake-up call for the international community to take action, the horrors described are not a surprise to the human rights community, which has worked with dozens of individuals who have been lucky enough to escape from the Kim Chamber of Horrors. Yet North Korea remains one of the least understood regimes in a world seemingly focused elsewhere. As discussions at the UN about the Commission of Inquiry report continue throughout this week in Geneva, I would urge the international community to reach a consensus to do more than just condemn by words. The time for willful blindness, for looking the other way from North Korea's abuses, must come to an end. There is a tremendous amount the international community can and must do. Future discussions about North Korea should make human rights a priority right alongside nuclear disarmament. North Korea has consistently represented one of the greatest security challenges for the United States because of its determined pursuit of nuclear weapons and missiles. But the threat North Korea poses to our South Korean ally, its record of human rights abuses, and the dangers that it presents to regional stability make dealing with North Korea that much more difficult. After decades of trying to negotiate, cajole, and pressure North Korea to halt its proliferation and stand by its commitments, we have seen little success. In fact, North Korea seems much more determined today to act irresponsibly than ever before. Since 2009, the U.S. has pursued a reactive policy toward North Korea called strategic patience, which maintains leveled pressure and resolute warnings with a door to renewed discussions partly open. This policy, however, has not slowed North Korea's nuclear program, as illustrated by Pyongyang's decision to restart its Yongbyon reactor and, and has been noted in the recently released UN Panel of Experts report. North Korea continues to develop creative ways to evade UN Security Council prohibitions on trade and economic activities to boost its nuclear and missile programs. It has also done nothing to decrease the extent of human rights violations in North Korea. Clearly, U.S. policy has been ineffective. Since Kim Jong-un's assumed power in December 2011, he has embraced the evil, tyrannical, depraved, corrupt, and vile characteristics of his father and grandfather. Despite only slight stylistic leadership differences, the ultimate goals for North Korea remain the same, and the pursuit of nuclear weapons continues unfettered. Throughout 2012 and 2013, the world witnessed an escalation of warlike rhetoric and dangerously irresponsible actions from the third-generation Kim, who wanted nothing more than to show the world his threats were real. And this bellicose behavior continues. During this year's joint U.S.-South Korea military drills, which began in February, North Korea conducted a number of prohibited missile tests. Just this past weekend, North Korea test-fired 46 short-range rockets, bringing the total to 70 over the course of the last month, one of which came within range of a Chinese passenger plane. Pyongyang has claimed these tests as part of its own routine self-defense exercises. The Obama administration appears to have outsourced its North Korean policy to China. But China's policies, too, are failing. The sudden and brutal removal of Zhang Song, tech thought to be close to Beijing, was a blow to China. And now the Kim regime seems to be trying to push China out of its circle of influence. This raises a number of concerns and questions as to how China will act in the coming months as the U.S. urges Beijing to not veto the inevitable Security Council resolution condemning North Korea's human rights record, and to stop evading our sanctions policy by funneling money to support Pyongyang's nuclear and missile production. It's clear that a non-nuclear and compliant North Korea is an unreachable goal if the administration maintains its current policy approach. We cannot become comfortably accustomed to North Korea's possession of nuclear weapons or its systematic torture and killing of its own people. North Korea is a grave threat to the United States and our allies in Asia. Policies pursued by presidents of both parties, with minor variations, have failed. It is time for us to reconsider the policies that haven't worked and reapply those that have. Trading valuable concessions failed once, so let's not buy the same horse twice. I believe it's possible to disarm North Korea involuntarily without the use of force. Legislation was introduced last year to give the President the legal tools to do just that. The UN's report makes it vividly clear that if the world community continues to dawdle, growing numbers of innocent North Koreans will suffer and die in horrific ways. Now is the time to put our resources together and act. I look forward to our witnesses' testimonies this afternoon and discussing options we have to hold the North Korean regime accountable. And I'd at this time like to turn to the ranking member, the acting ranking member of the committee, Ami Berra from California.
Thank you, Chairman Chabot.